Hello, welcome to part 2 of Decoding the Matrix. So, if this has landed on you, I'm going to be putting these in a playlist, so please do start at the beginning because I'm working my way through and this is a bit of a continuation of part 1. So, as I've already explained, I've described life, this version of life, the game of Earth, as Fallout, the game Fallout computer game. Now, you are obviously the main character in your game, right? You're controlling that character. Now, within the game, there are other characters because this game is an online game. Okay, so you can come across other main characters. Now, some of them are good, like you. Some of them are bad, and some are indifferent. Okay, and as they go through their game, they are deciding on their life choices and their decisions and actions and what their levels of karma are going to be. Now, just to switch to a different game for a second, right? Grand Theft Auto. I became a little bit addicted on this, San Andreas one particularly. Now, if we're thinking about karma in this way, right? Grand Theft Auto was quite a bit before this, in reality, as sad as that makes me feel. Now, take Grand Theft Auto, for example. If you pew-pewed a police officer, it was extremely hard to get away. Extremely hard, pretty much impossible. And you'd basically get piled on by the police and they'd take you down, and then that was kind of refresh, restart. Okay? Think of that as karma, right, in this game of life. If you do something really heavy, there's no getting away from it. I mean, there's no getting away from karma anyway, but there's, it's going to be real heavy. It's just impossible. It's impossible to escape. So that's where my mind went with this game analogy, Grand Theft Auto and pew-pewing a police officer. Right, anyway, so back to Fallout. So yeah, so you've got all these other main characters running around, doing what they want. Now, when you play online gaming, and I've not done a lot of it myself, don't get me wrong, they're unpredictable. Because you also get what we call non-player characters. They are just there, running the program, running the script, okay? And they're predictable. They move in a certain way, they say the same things, they repeat themselves, they glitch, they do weird things, but they're predictable. Much like in this game of life, you have what we call non-player characters. Now, for me, they're people, but they don't really have a soul. They are just mindlessly walking around, doing what the program tells them to do. They'll never awaken because they're not designed to. They're designed just to be there. They're an annoyance because when you start to elevate, and as I said in the pilot, once you go, do you know what? I'm sick of listening to Radio 1. I want to change the radio station and listen to something else. It agitates the non-player characters. It agitates the system. Because although to beat the game, you have to awaken and change the radio station, it's going to make it hard for you. Okay? Because it wants to challenge you. And what it often does is it sets off the non-player characters. And these tend to be people in your life, your friends, your family. And they turn on you. They become agitated with you. Now, the idea of this within the computer game is to frustrate you. Because when you get frustrated when you're playing a video game, it becomes more difficult. So if you are unlucky enough to be as old as I and played things like Sonic the Hedgehog or Super Mario Brothers, the games themselves were very simple, and I'm going to be referencing them in another part, but extremely difficult. Okay, extremely difficult. And as soon as you hit a level whereby it became quite tough and you kept repeating the same thing and, There's only one very specific way to do it. You get agitated. And at some point, you dash the controller against the wall and you go, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this. And that's what a lot of people do after they start to awaken, because they can't handle the hard facts that they have to break away, that they have to make these life choices. So instead, they try it, they get frustrated because the non-player characters are frustrating them, and then they give up, and then they fall back in line. Now, you also get, obviously, main characters in the game, but they're not very nice. And they will try and hunt you down. They will try and stop you from achieving your goals. And they will try and stop you from completing the game. Because their mission of this game, their enjoyment of this game, is not completing it. They're not bothered about that, because they're just in it for themselves. They get a thrill from stopping other people, not completing the challenges. And it's about standing up to them and identifying them. But again, it's hard. And this is why most people bury their head in the sand, run away, hide under rocks, and avoid the baddies at all cost. Now, the problem is, in this game, the baddies can reproduce. The baddies can actually control the non-player characters. Because if you're a goodie, you don't want to control the non-player characters. You're not bothered about them. They're all right to have around. They give you information. They might give you a bit of food, a bit of medicine, some ammunition, etc., etc. But that's not your mission. That's not what you're focused on. You're focused on completing the game. You want to achieve it. You want to level up. The baddies aren't bothered about that. They're about control. They want to take over the game. They want it. They want it a wasteland whereby they become God of the game. So those are the main characters within this game of life that I'm referencing to Fallout. Now, when you have your next level awakening, that is when you realise not only is this a first-person game, but you can also change the view and make it third-person. And that is when we start to get into things like astral travel, because we are starting to view ourselves from a higher field. We are starting to realise that we are not just this three-dimensional being, but we can start viewing the character from the eyes of the eyes and the reference point of our higher self. I'm going to leave it there. Next part, we're going to look into the difference between chosen ones, starseeds, and lightworkers. See you there.